You are Locked On Jets POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets fail on another game-winning drive attempt to fall to 3-9 and improve their draft positioning just for a little bit. Welcome into the Locked On Jets POSTCAST. I am your host, Chris Schubert. We welcome you in here for another debrief after a Jets loss pushes them to 3-9, basically ending any dream. I know the commentators were talking about it on the broadcast, any dream of the Jets season turning around and then being in the playoff mix. All but over with the loss today. They improved their draft position, currently sit 5th, according to Tankathon and their current updated odds. We will get to all of that, break down this 26-21 loss for the New York Jets. But once again, welcome you into the Locked On Jets POSTCAST. I'm your host, Chris Schubert, longtime Jets fan, been covering the Jets, doing a lot of podcasting for the Jets, also a talk radio host. So I've been following this team for a very long time. We welcome you in here to the Locked On Jets POSTCAST. And this POSTCAST brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. And we'll start here, right? You don't want the box score. You don't want me to break down the numbers from this game. You watch the game with your own two eyes. We'll try to not do a lot of box score breakdowns here on this edition of the show. But we will give you the numbers and the impact that those numbers had on the game. But I think the only place for us to realistically start here is the weird feeling I had sitting down to watch this football game. You can see behind me if you're watching on the video version of the show. Got my Christmas tree up behind me. Spent the weekend with the family, setting up the house, getting everything ready for the holiday season for Christmas, and didn't really know how I wanted this game to go today because the GM for this team is gone. The head coach for this team is gone. It all but looks like the quarterback of this team is gone. And the 2025 New York Jets are going to look a lot different than the 2024 New York Jets. And so with that being the case, what do these wins really do for the New York Jets? It doesn't really help them get ready for 2025. In fact, a win in this football game, Rodgers looking better in this football game, could have maybe muddied the waters a little bit. So I went into this football game not really rooting for the Jets to lose, but understanding that I wanted the Jets to play a competitive football game, and if they lost, so be it. Their draft positioning would be helped out a little bit, and at the end of the day, these wins didn't matter. I hate that that was how I felt today. I hate that that is not the first time I have felt that way in recent memory. It feels like every single year, at some point, we get to this point where we have this conversation, where we have this feeling. There are fans across the league today that are watching their teams where a win means everything. A win keeps their playoff hopes alive. A win helps them stay in contention for the division. The New York Jets didn't have any of that on the docket here today, and so it leaves us all in this weird spot. And so if you see it on the graphic there on the left, I had posing the question, was this the perfect result? For the Jets to not get run over, for the Jets to at least look like a competent football team in the first half, and show you that there is at least some fight left in this team, but yet at the end of the day, come up with another loss, improve their draft position when we know they're probably going to be shopping around in the quarterback market this offseason. Again, that's the big picture view. We'll save that for John on the Locked On Jets podcast moving forward. But that's how I felt watching this football game, and I'm sure I'm not alone. I am sure I'm not the only person who watched this football game through the lens of, do I want the Jets to win? Am I really rooting for the Jets to not finish that drive at the end of the game? It is a weird place to be in as a fan, and it's not my fault. It's not any of your fault that you felt that way. It is the team's fault because their poor play, their underperformance in the 11 games prior to this put us in the situation where this is what we felt like. It was weird. It had been a while since we've watched some Jets football. That bye week came at a perfect time. It was nice to sit back, relax, and not have to stress or worry or get upset about something that the New York Jets were doing right or wrong. And they come back, and this game started about as perfectly as it could have started for the New York Jets. For the first time in about a month, I would say, maybe longer than a month. When's the last time that you saw the New York Jets play this well this early in the game, get off to the good start? The Thursday night game against New England? I mean, I'll pull up the schedule here real quick to see if I can remember a game that felt that way, but let's just talk about it. Wasn't the Broncos game, wasn't the Vikings game in London, wasn't maybe the Bills game. The first half against the Steelers before it all unraveled in the final moments, that's probably the game that you would look at. And the New York Jets got about as perfect of a start as you could get. The offense looked great even after that first 3 and out. Their drives in the first quarter, an 11-play, 80-yard drive that ended in Devontae Adams' touchdown, and then Isaiah Davis catches a pass from Aaron Rodgers for a touchdown, and the New York Jets have a 14-0 lead before you could even blink. They had an opportunity in the first half of this football game to go up as much as 28-7, and where it all went wrong is after the Jets took a 21-7 lead, the Jets go down the field, and Aaron Rodgers misses a wide open Garrett Wilson for a touchdown that would have put the Jets up 28-7, assuming the extra point. You can't assume the extra point these days, but we will for the sake of this post show. It would have put them up 28-7. They would have had a 3-score lead at home. It would have been easy to do this post show because we would have focused entirely on that. How great they looked in the first half, how Rodgers was throwing it back to 2011, 2012, looking like an MVP version of himself, moving around in the pocket, being on the same page with Devontae Adams, being on the same page with Garrett Wilson. It would have been something we had not seen the first 11 games of the season. We would have not have seen that version of Aaron Rodgers. Even the New England game on Thursday Night Football didn't have Aaron Rodgers looking this good. That's what the first half provided us. It provided us an Aaron Rodgers where he looked like he was back in the old school. He was back in 2011, 2012, or even back when he was winning back-to-back MVPs, moving around in the pocket well, absorbing pressure, stepping up, moving around, hitting throws, throwing the ball down the field. It was what we all thought this could have been when the season started. Now, we didn't go on that journey. We got here watching a 3-8 football team here today, but that first half was a glimpse. And I texted a buddy and I said, this is the peak Jets performance. When you consider them done, when you consider them toast, when you've got all these reports about what Rodgers' future is going to look like, all these reports of what's going on in that building, they come out and they give you this inspired effort to completely muddy your worldview of what this team actually is and what they could be. All the talk about Rodgers maybe not being in the building any longer after this season, that the Jets maybe don't want him there, they want to move on, and Rodgers goes out and puts together that type of first half performance, that would be the conversation if they hit that touchdown and they go up 28-7. Instead of throwing it to a wide open Tyler Conklin, who probably could have landed a plane at JFK, that's how much room he had. Instead, they send the house, Rodgers is hot, throws the ball, and it is a Leonard Williams pick six that completely flips this game on its head. And from that moment on, Seattle just ground this game to a halt. Their defense played great. The Jets regressed back to the team that we saw get to 3-8 entering this contest. And at the end of the day, it was the Seattle Seahawks coming away with a 26-21 victory. We will discuss that drive, the drive to win the football game that failed once again for the New York Jets. We will do it here on the other side. What's up, Locked On Jets fans? I know you're like me and your holiday shopping list. You see there's no presents under that tree. We're still working on it back here at the Schubert compound. It's far from complete. Well, if that's the case, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fan in your life. Perhaps you've heard of IceShaker. IceShaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, the NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and will make the ideal gift. Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, IceShakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and it is the gift you have been looking for. Just go to IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% off your order. Kitchen-grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor like the plastic bottles do. These are third-party tested, will hold ice for 30-plus hours. They're also customizable. Send them your logo or check out the custom shop to customize your favorite bottle. Turnaround time on custom bottles is 3 to 5 business days. Order your team-branded bottles today at IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $25 off your order. IceShakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. IceShakers. BetterHelp. What's your favorite part of the holidays? Mine, seeing the look on people's faces when I can give them a gift that they're not expecting. When I can surprise somebody with that perfect holiday gift, man, that is the great feeling. What moments make you happy and cozy at home during December? How do you stay cozy during the winter months? For some, wrapping up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate or watching a movie with family is the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season changes. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Appreciate joining us here on this Locked On Jets postcast immediately after the Jets' 26-21 loss to the Seattle Seahawks. Make sure you are locked in with the Locked On Jets podcast. John is going to have even more thoughts for you coming out of this game and the bigger picture of where this team goes from here now that they are 3-9. And like I said, as we speak here, they are now the number 5 pick, according to Tankathon, after the loss today. And I know you're like me. As you can see, I've got the hat on, the Reese's Senior Bowl, the draft, my favorite time of year. So I'm refreshing the Tankathon website on a pretty regular basis. So I'm sure some of you out there will be doing the same. So make sure you are subscribed and you are tapped in with the Locked On Jets podcast. But we still got you covered here for a little bit here on the show. And let's talk about it, because this is not new. This is not unfamiliar. This is not unfamiliar territory for the New York Jets, because it's kind of been the norm this season. I'm going to try to recap them all here over the course of this little segment. Bear with me if I don't get them all correct. But game-winning drive attempt against the Broncos didn't work out. Game-winning drive attempt against the Vikings didn't work out. Game-winning drive attempt against the Bills, against the Patriots, against the Colts. All of these opportunities for the Jets with the ball in their hand. Aaron Rodgers, the guy you brought here. And I know I have said this before on the Locked On Jets postcast, and so sorry for those of you that are regulars if I'm sounding like a broken record. But for those of you who are new, and we know we've got a lot of you joining on a regular basis, this is what Aaron Rodgers was brought here to do. He was brought here to win these games. He was brought here to, in these moments, things are going sideways all around the New York Jets, right? Defense collapsing. It's a close game. Shouldn't have been a close game when you have a 21-7 lead. He is supposed to be the guy that calms everything down. He's supposed to be the steady hand that leads this team on the game-winning drive. That's what franchise quarterbacks do. You put your team in position. Now, you want to say that today's one isn't on him? That's fine. But I got a resume. I have a resume of just this season of those games not going well for the New York Jets, and specifically for Aaron Rodgers, for those game-winning drives falling short. There is not a single game this season where Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets have put together that drive in that moment. And if they would have done so today, it would have been great. It would have been a nice way to end the Sunday. I would not have been upset about doing a victory edition of this show. We have not done a victory edition of this show in a really long time. I was at the Cardinals game a couple of weeks ago, so I've seen this team in person be a disaster. So it would have been nice to have a little change of pace. But the New York Jets and this offense have not been able to provide that. Why? Because they have been incredibly inconsistent this season. And that first half probably made you feel like, man, where has this been all season? The reason why it hasn't been there all season is because they cannot do it for 4 quarters. They cannot put together 4 quarters of complimentary football. They can't do it. They cannot for 4 quarters in a football game. It's why they only have 3 wins on the season. It's why their wins have come against the Titans, rookie head coach in the 2nd week of the season, against the Patriots, rookie head coach in the 3rd week of the season, and a home win against the Texans where you caught them on the short week. That's why those are their only 3 victories. Because they cannot put together a complete game of football. They haven't done it all season. They haven't. They have not been able to put it together in a key moment. And this game this past week against the Colts 2 weeks ago, and this one today against the Seahawks is just another example of this team falling short in these moments. And I hate to sound like a broken record. I hate to continue to do this, but when it's the same story every single week, when it is the same recipe of Aaron Rodgers and this offense with all of his talent, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Breece Hall, the tight ends. I know Morgan Moses left this game and Carter Warren was playing right tackle. I get that. I know they lost Sauce Gardner during this game. I get all the injuries that plagued this team during the game. But when it came down to crunch time, they had Aaron Rodgers under center, who had a really good first half, threw 2 first-quarter touchdowns for the first time since, I think it was 2019. I had a buddy send me the stat during the game. I'll try to pull it up here in real time. That Aaron Rodgers threw 2 touchdowns in the first quarter of a football game, and it was the first time that he had done so since 2019. So 5 years ago was the last time that he had done that. It was pretty impressive stuff early on, and then it just faded. It just faded late. And in that moment, you had Aaron Rodgers under center, who played that well in the first half. You had Breece Hall, who was banged up. Not really sure why he was playing this game for a team that was 3-8, but okay, he was out there. That had Devontae Adams, that had Garrett Wilson, that had all of their skill position players that are supposed to come through in these moments, and they just couldn't get it done. They just couldn't get it done again. Just like they couldn't do it against the Colts, just like they couldn't do it against the Broncos, just like they couldn't do it against the Vikings, just like they have done over and over and over again this season. And there is not one thing that has gone wrong for this team this season, but when they got the ball down 26-21 with 5 minutes to go in the game, it says a lot that my instant reaction to them getting the ball was knowing how it was going to end up, is knowing that you got to show it to me once before I even remotely believe that you're going to be able to do it, because they haven't done it once this season. And once again, they failed in that moment with the guy who's supposed to be the person that gets them to those spots and delivers in those moments. They were unable to get it done. That's the disappointing thing that comes from today's game. Again, there's not one thing that has plagued this Jets season, but I got to tell you, this is one of the big ones, because if any of those go differently, if a couple of those go differently, not all of them, just a couple of them go differently, we are talking about a very different season, and we are talking about these games mattering a little bit more. We will put our final thoughts on this game. I also have a comment in the chat that I have to read because I have to defend myself here. We will do so on the other side. Get ready to tackle the NFL action. I may have a couple of bets still going on as the afternoon window opens up, the late window opens up with the NFL. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, new customers. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines, here's your reason to jump in. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment with FanDuel an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Talk to you about Game Time. Make sure you download the Game Time app today. I don't know if you want to watch any more of this team, and I don't know if you want to see them in person. Maybe you are looking for the perfect distraction from this team that we watch on Sundays. Maybe there's a concert coming up. Maybe there's another sport. Maybe there's a hockey game. Maybe there's basketball, right? You got some other teams in town that maybe are doing a little bit better that you're going to want to see. Well, you're going to want to download the Game Time app to get the tickets for those events. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks, it filters out all of the fluff, and it shows you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You think that's awesome? How about these other features that the Game Time app provides for you? How about all-in pricing? You turn this feature on, you toggle this feature on in the app, and you get the total up front. No surprise fees when you get to the checkout. How about Seat View? Get a panoramic view of the seat in the app before you buy it. The lowest price guarantee, or Game Time, will credit you 110% of the difference, and the Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. We appreciate you joining us here on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel. And shout out to Wesley in the comments who says that my tree is looking great. Hope I find some great ornaments for it. Now, I will tell you, this is the perks of being here live. This is the perks of seeing the video version of the show. I've got 3 trees in the house. So this is the one that we didn't put in the living room. We didn't put in some of the other rooms of the house. So this is the one that has been staged in my office. The other 2, they are full. They are full of lights, full of ornaments. We haven't gotten to this one yet. Maybe we will later today. Had to watch this lovely football team that we got to see today lose a game 26-21. But make sure you are subscribed to us here on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel. We've got you covered after all of your New York teams are in action. I believe Jay Berman's got you covered after the Knicks are in action later on today. They return home. They'll be in action. He'll have you covered here later on tonight. So make sure, if you're new here, you subscribe, you turn on that notification bell so you are notified when we go live, and you can join us here for these live postcasts. And I've got you covered on the Jet side of things for the remainder of the season. And then when baseball season kicks back up, I will be back in action covering you with the Mets for the Locked On Mets postcast. But I appreciate you being here on this edition of the Locked On Jets postcast. We'll wrap up talking about Aaron Rodgers' performance, wrapping a bow on this one. Look, like I said at the beginning, I don't know how to feel, right? I think at the end of the day, I'd like to watch my team win football games. I think it's better when our teams win football games. It's more enjoyable. It's a better Sunday afternoon. It's miserable to wake up and expect your team to lose and expect your team to not play well and have to talk about it and have to come up with new creative angles, especially when the same stuff that this team does on a pretty regular basis crops up and happens over and over and over again. The lack of complementary football, the penalties that extend drives for Seattle, the inability to go down the field on a game-winning drive. Listen, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do it every time, but Aaron Rodgers is supposed to do it at least once, and we haven't seen that yet. So a little disappointing that we haven't gotten that yet. And look at the box score from this game. And I promised you we were not going to do box score scouting, but I'm just going to read you what Rodgers' numbers look like at the end of the day, and then we can compare it with what our eyeballs told us. 21 of 39, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, the 1 interception. Numbers-wise, that didn't match what I saw. I saw a team in the first half that looked the best they have looked, I want to say all season. I don't think I remember them playing that well. And I got to tell you, it didn't start that way. That first 3 and out made me think of, oh boy, they were just on the bye week. They had all this time to prepare, and we're right back to where we're at. We are right back to where we were a couple of weeks ago. Here we go again. It's going to be just like the first half of the Colts game where they're not going to gain a first down until late into the second quarter. Boy, is that going to be bad. Boy, is that going to be a tough post show. That's exactly what I was thinking when watching this game happen. And they then recovered. And they took that 21-7 lead. And this game changed. And this is what I would put on Rodgers. This game changed when Rodgers missed a wide open Garrett Wilson. And Wilson got his fingertips on it, but that is a poorly placed ball by Rodgers. Garrett's wide open. He didn't have to completely thread the needle. He could have made a better throw there. Did he need to be perfect? No. It was a decent throw, but a better throw, one that we expect Aaron Rodgers to be able to make, and it's a 28-7 lead. And then that gets followed up on the next play with the pick 6 to Leonard Williams that, again, completely flips this game on its head. It's now 21-13. And then the second half of this football game, the Jets regressed back to the team that we saw through the first 11 games of the season. Inconsistency on offense. They didn't score a single point in the second half. They didn't do anything offensively. Nothing. Not a single thing offensively. Let's talk about the drives that this team had in the second half of this football game. This is what they did in the second half. I promised we weren't going to box score, but I just want to tell you because your eyeball saw an offense be really bad. But this is what they actually put out on the field. A 7-play, 27-yard drive that ended in a punt. A 3-play, 34-yard drive that ended in a fumble. A 3-play, -1-yard drive that ended in a punt. And then a 13-play, 38-yard drive that ended on downs. That's the football game in the second half for the New York Jets. After, by the way, their last couple of drives in the first half, after the touchdown to go up 21-7, it was the pick 6. It was 4 plays, 8 yards on downs. It was 6 plays, 20 yards for a punt. And then it was 2 plays, -1 yard for the end of the half. So after the 21-7 lead after the touchdown, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drives with nothing. 8 straight drives with nothing. There's the football game. You throw the pick 6, and then your next 7 drives, you do nothing on. If you don't want to give them the one at the end of the half, 6 drives. They did nothing in the second half. You're not going to win football games that way. You are not going to be able to keep up with the Seattle team that, listen, are they the most impressive thing in the world? No, but they're 7-5. They've won 3 in a row. They beat San Francisco a couple of weeks ago on a walk-off touchdown. They beat Arizona the week prior to this to take first place in the division. Then they go on the road, West Coast to the East Coast, and they take care of business to get to 7-5 and take control of the NFC West. They were playing for something, and they showed it in the second half because down 21-7, you could have leaned on them and could have gone up 28-7. You didn't. And Seattle showed you that they have fight. Geno showed you that he had fight, and it wasn't pretty in the second half. They just chipped away. They, I thought, almost tried to give the game away early in the second half where they tried to go for it on 4th and goal, and they didn't get it, and the Jets made a stop when it was 21-16, where they could have just kicked the field goal to make it 21-19, and then when they kicked the field goal by Jason, the 43-yarder, to make it 21-19, that would have been the one to take the lead. But it didn't matter because all this team needed was 10 points in the fourth quarter, and they win the football game 26-21 to push the New York Jets to 3-9, 2-4 at home, and it is now 3 losses in a row. They snapped their 5-game losing streak by beating the Texans, and they've immediately followed that up by starting a 3-game losing streak of their own. Next up, it is the Miami Dolphins, who are still playing for something in the AFC playoff picture, even after their loss against the Green Bay Packers. Look, just another game for the New York Jets where the same stuff that has popped up before that has led to a loss is what doomed them here this week. And went with a chance to redeem all of that, with the chance to put it all in the rearview mirror. And for once, and it wouldn't have meant anything, getting to 4-8 wouldn't have changed how we felt about this team. It wouldn't have put them back in the playoff race. It wouldn't have done anything. But what it would have done is it would have, for one Sunday, for 1 week during the season, it would have given New York Jets fans something to get excited about, because it would have been a fourth quarter comeback led by Aaron Rodgers, and it would have just been cool to see, because that's what we signed up for. That is what everybody thought this was going to be when Aaron Rodgers got here. That didn't happen. The New York Jets fall to 3-9. I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it, because you see me wearing the Reese's Senior Bowl hat. The draft starts in Mobile. The draft is where the focus for this team needs to be, because this 2024 team is cooked. It's all she wrote. That doesn't mean we're done here. We've got a bunch more of these Locked On Jets postcasts for you to do. We will give the instant reaction, our thoughts after the New York Jets play their final 5 games of the season. Next up, it is a trip down to Miami to take on the Miami Dolphins. We appreciate you joining us here on this edition of the Locked On Jets postcast. The Jets fall to 3-9 after a 26-21 heartbreaker that sees them score no points in the second half and fail once again with the ball in their hands with a chance to go on a game-winning drive. That is going to do it for us here on this edition of the Locked On Jets postcast. We will talk to you next time. See you, everybody.